This meeting is being recorded. Okay, fine. Okay. So what was I saying?
We were at the point of students and professors being difficult to preach.
Yes, but it is our duty to deal with it. It's not, it is difficult. That doesn't mean that it is impossible. It has produced the best results in ISKCON India, definitely we have seen. It's produced first class results, provided you do it in a certain manner. Introduce people to a very high version of Krishna consciousness. And you make it easy or as less difficult as possible to execute it also. Most of our difficulties are self-created. So in Krishna consciousness, in the mode of goodness, we take help to protect ourselves from our own tamasic and rajasic tendencies. Not impossible, it's just difficult. But the results are also very good. Very, very good. Prabhupada is reported to have said that if you make one student Krishna conscious, it is as good as making 100 common men Krishna conscious. So, very important. 500 years ago, the condition of society was not as degraded as it is today. At that time, people would show respects to a sannyasi. And the sannyasi was rigid in following the rules and regulations of the renounced order of life. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was not very much in favor of the renounced order of life in this age of Kali. But that was only for the reason that very few sannyasis in this age are able to observe regulations of sannyas life. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu decided to accept the order and become an ideal sannyasi so that the general populace would show him respect. One is duty bound to show respect to a sannyasi, for a sannyasi is considered to be the master of all varnas and ashramas. Actually, a sannyasi is considered to be the master of the brahmanas. The brahmanas are considered to be the master of the lower varnas. And of course, when you're talking of brahmana, you're talking of bona fide brahmana. Similarly, sannyasi is a bona fide sannyasi. While he was contemplating accepting the sannyas order, it so happened that Keshav Bharati, a sannyasi of the Mayavadi school and a resident of Katwa in Bengal, visited Navadip and was invited to dine with the Lord. When Keshav Bharati came to his house, the Lord asked him to award him the sannyas order of life. This was a matter of formality. The sannyas order is to be accepted from another sannyasi. Although the Lord was independent in all respects, still to keep up the formalities of the Shastras, he accepted the sannyas order from Keshav Bharati. Although Keshav Bharati was not in the Vaishnava Sampradaya school, after consulting with Keshav Bharati, the Lord left Navadip for Katwa to formally accept the sannyas order of life. He was accompanied by Srila Nityananda Prabhu, Chandrasekhar Acharya, and Mukunda Datta. These three assisted him in the details of the ceremony. In Chaitanya Bhagavat, the Vrindavan Das Thakur reports that at the time of receiving sannyas initiation, it was Chaitanya Mahaprabhu who actually asked Keshav Bharati, what mantra are you going to give me, and so on. It was a Vaishnava sannyas initiation. What was happening at that time was the Shankara line had been very severely attacked philosophically by the Vaishnavas. So throughout India, they were experiencing weakness. And there were a number of Shankarites who were just namesake Shankarites. Even before Madhvacharya. Madhvacharya also took sannyas from Shankarite Mayavadi only. And he actually converted his sannyas guru into a Vaishnava. It was with some difficulty because his sannyas guru was quite affected by Mayavad. But that guru's guru himself had told him at the time of dying that These teachings are not the proper teachings of the scriptures. It is not proper, it's just something. So they knew it is wrong. But it's the official doctrine, so you'll have to fight for it, and you'll have to defend it to some possible extent. So these were just official namesake Shankarites. So Keshava Bharati appears to have been of that type, even more mild. The incident of the Lord's accepting the sannyas order is very elaborately described in the Chaitanya Bhagavat by Srila Vrindavan Das Thakur. Thus, at the end of his 24th year, the Lord accepted the sannyas order of life in the month of Magh. After accepting this order, he became a full-fledged preacher of the Bhagavata Dharma. Although he was doing the same preaching work in his household life, when he experienced some obstacles to his preaching, he sacrificed even the comfort of his home life for the sake of the fallen souls. In his household life, his chief assistants were Srila Advaita Prabhu and Srila Srivas Thakur. But after he accepted the sannyas order, his chief assistants became Srila Nityananda Prabhu, who was deputed to preach specifically in Bengal, and the six Goswamis, Rupa Goswami, Sanatan Goswami, Jiva Goswami, Gopal Bhatta Goswami, Raghunath Das Goswami, and Raghunath Bhatta Goswami, headed by Srila Rupa and Sanatan, who were deputed to go to Vrindavan to excavate the present places of pilgrimage in Brajamandal. The present city of Vrindavan and the importance of Rajabhumi were thus disclosed by the will of Lord Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Those days, sannyasi means you're a full-fledged renunciant. And that too, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's version of sannyas was of a very high standard of sannyas. In the Ramanuja and the Madhva schools, sannyas was more like institutional sannyas based on monasteries, where you have some arrangement for yoga kshema for you. Institutionally, it's provided. Like in the Gaudiya Math, etc. ISKCON also is continuing that. But during Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's time, it was not like that. It was even more strict. Even more strict. The Lord, after accepting the sannyas order, at once wanted to start for Vrindavan. For 3 continuous days, he traveled in the Radh Desh, places where the Ganges does not flow. In the Chaitanya Bhagavat Gaudiya Bhashya, Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur notes that Radh Desh is a Bengali corruption from the Sanskrit expression Rashtra Desha. And it specifically refers to the places where the Ganges does not flow. This is not Radha Desha. It has nothing to do with Radharani. Radh Desh. He was in full ecstasy over the idea of going to Vrindavan. However, Srila Nityananda diverted his path and brought him instead to the house of Advaita Prabhu in Shantipur. The Lord stayed at Sri Advaita Prabhu's house for a few days, and knowing well that the Lord was leaving his hearth and home for good, Sri Advaita Prabhu sent his men to Navadip to bring Mother Shachi to have a last meeting with her son. Some unscrupulous people say that Lord Chaitanya met his wife also after taking sannyas and offered her his wooden slipper for worship, but the authentic sources give no information about such a meeting. His mother met him at the house of Advaita Prabhu, and when she saw her son in sannyas dress, she lamented. By way of compensation, she requested her son to make his headquarters in Puri so that she would easily be able to get information about him. The Lord granted this last desire of his beloved mother. After this incident, the Lord started for Puri, leaving all the residents of Navadip in an ocean of lamentation over his separation. Achyutanam Prabhu.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji. Prabhu, in Dhameshwar Mahaprabhu in Navadip, they show the sleepers they claim that these are the sleepers of Mahaprabhu worshipped by Srimati Vishnupriya Devi. So if Prabhupada is writing that he has not given, does it mean that those sleepers are not the one of Mahaprabhu, as they claim in the temple?
Definitely, after he took sannyas, he did not give. He might have given it before he left, quite likely.
Okay. Okay.
The Lord did not break. The Lord was a very strict grihastha. Whatever the grihastha principles were there, he accepted a wife. He married twice, actually. Because if you want to take care of your mother, father, and family members, you need to have a wife. Without a wife, you are zero, actually. Otherwise, you leave. You leave means you leave, fully leave. That's all, fully. So Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, when he took sannyas, he was very strict. And in Chaitanya Charitamrita, we learn how strict he was. He would not accept even comfortable bedding to sleep on the ground. So if you want to be a sannyasi, then there's a standard. And Lord Chaitanya demonstrated that. And if you want to be a grihastha, then there's a standard too. And Lord Chaitanya, he demonstrated that also. Somapati Gauranga Prabhu.
So after leaving from the home, if family does not give the blessings, that will be okay. Like mother and father, they don't like that we give up our family.
If we give up family life, at least in India, they expect us to be grihatyagis for whole life. But then after 8 years of life in renunciation, if you say, I'm a human being, this is Kali Yuga and all this, then they become very confused. In India, they become very, very confused. They don't know what to do. Because they only know one version of household life, which is their version of household life, whatever it is. And in that, they say you can add your Krishna consciousness. So within ISKCON, there are devotees who struggle with that. We don't know how to deal with it also. We cannot say that those who decided to marry later on are criminals, but it just becomes a big headache and big social issue. Because then they want to know what is this ISKCON family life? What is it? It's family life. Family life is family life. Just like eating is eating. You go to a doctor, the doctor tells you you cannot eat this food, that food. You cannot say no, but it's Mahaprasad plate. Whether it is Mahaprasad plate or not, you cannot eat something for your health means you cannot eat something for your health. That's all. So it becomes a matter of great confusion. So we are doing a lot of youth preaching. We are telling people to take to Krishna consciousness fully, but we should also be aware of these things. Ultimately, Krishna is going to take care of the ones who take to Krishna consciousness. Even if later on they do decide to marry, even then Krishna will take care of them. We know that. Brahmachari, Grihastha, Vanaprastha, Sannyasi, Brahmana, Kshatriya, Vaishya, Shudra, man or woman, everybody will be taken care of by Lord Krishna. Krishna knows what is best for us. But if one tells his family members that, see, I'm joining this and I will never ever marry, and then later they say that, later they want to get married, then it becomes a matter of great social disturbance, personal embarrassment, social disturbance. So that has to be resolved. That has to be resolved. I think that we should not make false promises, first of all. I remember in one of our ISKCON centers in Bangalore, there was one young boy, Marwari boy, who wanted to join one particular temple. And he was from a wealthy family. And even when he was 20 years old and all, his father was thinking of getting him married. They were originally from Rajasthan, so they tend to provide early marriages. Nowadays, when you marry in the first half of your 20s, it's considered an early marriage. So that kind of arrangement was being made, but he wanted to join the temple, wanted to become a brahmachari and all that. So I happened to be in that temple when the boy's father and uncles and others, they came and they directly asked the temple president, see, now he's saying that he'll become brahmachari, this, that. Um, but, he was born in our family. We know him. So at some point, what if he develops a desire to marry? Then what do you do? At that time, the president, he directly gave an instruction. He directly said, see, I'm taking charge of him. I myself am married. And I can arrange for him to be married also. We can do that. So directly told him that. So they did not tell any false things that, no, you will not marry this. No, you don't say things which you don't have control over. These are all very difficult issues. The vast majority of Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's followers during his own time were married. And Prabhupada did not discriminate also. So it is only that seems to be an issue. There are some parents who directly tell their sons when they join, and I have seen this also. You're joining, stay. Just stay. Just stay. Don't marry. Don't marry even an ISKCON girl. Don't marry even a pure devotee girl. Don't marry. That's all. No sinful life, no sinless life, no life. You should just surrender to Krishna. Krishna's life is your life. That's all. You have no life. That I have seen. Some mothers themselves have told. That also I have seen. So you just need to, because the whole idea is we want them to become Krishna conscious, the boys to become Krishna conscious, but we want their family members also to become Krishna conscious. We want everyone to become Krishna conscious. So let us not do something that even Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu condemns. Let us do things that will benefit everyone in a realistic manner. Since India is more or less becoming westernized, I think that we'll be forced to follow the policies that Prabhupada himself followed. Prabhupada was quite liberal about this matter. He did not disturb people's eating. He did not disturb their ashram preference. Whatever. So that alone seems to be a very serious issue. That alone. Other than that, in South India, they say, we all respect Adi Shankaracharya. Just that we don't want any of our sons to become the next Adi Shankaracharya. So that is there. In India, then that sentiment is there. Anyway, Krishna will help. And I remember that boy who had joined in Bangalore, and they were asking him, they said, first of all, he's joining in white. He's not joining in saffron. And he said that as much power as I have, I will try my best to ensure that he's properly situated, either as a brahmachari or as a grihastha. But you should understand that he is not becoming a sannyasi. He is not becoming a sannyasi. Then they said, yes, we know that he is not a sannyasi, but from the practical point of view, he is giving up all material activities and social activities, which is as good as sannyas for us. So the president said, yes, that's correct. No, it's correct. I cannot deny that. But let us give this opportunity for this boy. So I think that that concept I like. Let us give this opportunity. Most of us are simply wasting our life materially also. So what is it? Simply otherwise life after life after life will just going on like this now. At least we should be in some environment where you can practice and progress in Krishna consciousness. Overall, I think that this kind of preaching is very, very good. And devotees throughout the world, they know that if you want to be a serious brahmachari, then you should be in India. In Europe and all, they openly say that. One of my brahmachari friends who wanted to be an HD brahmachari in UK, United Kingdom, he told the president that I want to go to India. I want to go to Mayapur. or Vrindavan or somewhere like that. And the president asked him that why can't you just be here? Then he said, no, but I want to be an Naishtik Brahmachari. Then he said, okay, go. Because here there's no guarantee that we can keep you all that. But India is a place with sufficient misery that things will be more in shape. India's got the right combination of material happiness, material unhappiness, all these things. It's designed for Vairagya Vidya and Bhakti. So the president, he allowed him to go. In America and other places, they all know this. They know this. Especially the holy dhams. Difficult, but it's doable. So that issue has to be dealt with. That issue has to be dealt with. Don't make false promises. Unrealistic false promises. That too, when we are preaching to the candidates. We clearly understand that here's a boy, a bhogi type. He's not a yogi type. So we know that after a few years he'll get married. Unless he completely accepts some very highly disciplined regimen, that kind of life. Generally, all these vasanas will come out at a later point. Of course, it will come out as much as possible with as much of Krishna consciousness labels, but it'll come out. It'll come out. So you should just deal with it very wisely. And I think there's another reason why I know someone who developed a desire to marry after he had surrendered to Krishna consciousness. Many years after. Many years means what? 15 years after. And his desires to marry was very, very intense. Everybody was wonderstruck, how this character could develop such strong desires. And he did not want to marry any of the girls in that community also. It was a very confused situation. So when we brought up this matter to my teacher, Sri Gopi Pranam, he said it is simply because he has committed offenses. Because if you execute Bhakti Yoga properly, then the 6 urges will reduce. And our tendency for Atyahara, Prayas, all of that will reduce, and we'll develop a taste for Utsaha, Nishchaya, Dhairya, and all of this. So the fact that lust, anger, and greed have not reduced, passion has not reduced, desires for family life have not reduced, that itself indicates that he has engaged in forbidden activities, offenses, and so on. So that also we should be careful about. I would say that those of us who want to make serious progress in Krishna consciousness, we should try to come up to the standard of Krishna consciousness as presented in Prabhupada's own books. Because in the books, Prabhupada is very strict. So if we don't do that, we simply preach to people and say, just join ISKCON, and then, that means nothing actually. Because within ISKCON, Prabhupada himself, he says, it's a society. We have Brahmanas, Kshatriyas, Vaishyas, Shudras. We have Brahmachari, Grahastha, Vanaprastha, Sannyasi. We have men, we have women. We have children, we have old people, we have everyone. It's a big circle. So simply telling them to join ISKCON, and that itself is the equivalent of Uttama Bhakti and Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu is a misconception. That is not the case. So we should tell them that we are trying to create a very favorable environment for you to execute Uttama Bhakti. That we can say. But coming to the airport is the same as landing in your desired country. They're two different things. Okay, let's move on. By way of compromise, she requested her son to make his headquarters in Puri so that she would easily be able to get information about him. The Lord granted this last desire of his beloved mother. After this incident, the Lord started for Puri, leaving all the residents of Navadvip in an ocean of lamentation over his separation. The Lord visited many important places on the way to Puri. He visited the temple of Gopinathji, who had stolen condensed milk for his devotee Srila Madhavendra Puri. Since then, deity Gopinathji is well known as Kshirachora Gopinath. The Lord relished this story with great pleasure. The propensity of stealing is there, even in the absolute consciousness. But because this propensity is exhibited by the absolute, it loses its perverted nature and thus becomes worshipable even by Lord Chaitanya on the basis of the absolute consideration that the Lord and his stealing propensity are one and identical. This interesting story of Gopinathji is vividly explained in the Chaitanya Charitamrita by Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami. This was a whole discussion about how the Lord stole kheer, and prior to that, how he became like a statue in Vidyanagar. No, that is Sakshi Gopal. That is not Kshirachora Gopinath. After visiting the temple of Kshirachora Gopinath of Remuna at Balasore in Orissa, the Lord proceeded towards Puri, and on the way visited the temple of Sakshi Gopal, who appeared as a witness in the matter of two Brahmana devotees' family quarrel. The Lord heard the story of Sakshi Gopal with great pleasure because he wanted to impress upon the atheists that the worshipable deities in the temples approved by the great acharyas are not idols, as alleged by men with a poor fund of knowledge. The deity in the temple is the Archa incarnation of the personality of Godhead. And thus, the deity is identical with the Lord in all respects. He responds to the proportion of the devotee's affection for him. In the story of Sakshi Gopal, in which there was a family misunderstanding by two devotees of the Lord, in order to mitigate the turmoil, as well as to show specific favor to his servitors, traveled from Vrindavan to Vidyanagar, a village in Orissa, in the form of his Archa incarnation. From there, the deity was brought to Cuttack, and thus the temple of Sakshi Gopal is even today visited by thousands of pilgrims on the way to Jagannath Puri. The Lord stayed overnight there and began to proceed toward Puri. On the way, his sannyas rod was broken by Nityananda Prabhu. The Lord became apparently angry with him about this and went alone to Puri, leaving his companions behind. Nityananda Prabhu broke it into three and threw it in the river. Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur, he gave an explanation to it, saying that why does the Supreme Personality of Godhead need to have a sannyas danda? At Puri, when he entered the temple of Jagannath, he became at once saturated with transcendental ecstasy and fell down on the floor of the temple unconscious. The custodians of the temple could not understand the transcendental feats of the Lord, but there was a great learned Pandit named Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya who was present, and he could understand that the Lord's losing his consciousness upon entering the Jagannath temple was not an ordinary thing. Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya, who was the chief appointed Pandit in the court of the king of Orissa, Maharaj Prataprudra, was attracted by the youthful luster of Lord Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and could understand that such a transcendental trance was only rarely exhibited, and only then by the topmost devotees who are already on the transcendental plane in complete forgetfulness of material existence. Only a liberated soul could show such a transcendental feat, and the Bhattacharya, who was vastly learned, could understand this in the light of the transcendental literature with which he was familiar. He therefore asked the custodians of the temple not to disturb the unknown sannyasi. He asked them to take the Lord to his home so that he could be further observed in his unconscious state. The Lord was at once carried to the home of Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya, who at that time had sufficient power of authority due to his being the Sabha Pandit or the state dean of faculty in Sanskrit literature. The learned Pandit wanted to scrutinizingly test the transcendental feats of Lord Chaitanya, because often unscrupulous devotees imitate physical feats in order to flaunt transcendental achievements just to attract innocent people and take advantage of them. A learned scholar like the Bhattacharya can detect such impostors. When he finds them out, he at once rejects them. In the case of Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, the Bhattacharya tested all the symptoms in the light of the Shastras. He tested as a scientist, not as a foolish sentimentalist. He observed the movement of the stomach, the beating of the heart, and the breathing of the nostrils. He also felt the pulse of the Lord and saw that all his bodily activities were in complete suspension. He also felt the pulse were in complete suspension. When he put a small cotton swab before the nostrils, he found that there was a slight breathing as the fine fibers of cotton moved slightly. Thus he came to know that the Lord's unconscious trance was genuine. He began to treat him in the prescribed fashion. But Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu could only be treated in a special way. He would respond only to the resounding of the holy names of the Lord by his devotees. This special treatment was unknown to Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya because the Lord was still unknown to him. When the Bhattacharya saw him for the first time in the temple, he simply took him to be one of many pilgrims. In the meantime, the companions of the Lord, who reached the temple a little after him, heard of the Lord's transcendental feats and of his being carried away by the Bhattacharya. The pilgrims at the temple were still gossiping about the incident. But by chance, one of these pilgrims had met Gopinath Acharya, who was known to Gadadhar Pandit. And from him, it was learned that the Lord was lying in an unconscious state at the residence of Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya, who happened to be the brother-in-law of Gopinath Acharya. All the members of the party were introduced by Gadadhar Pandit to Gopinath Acharya, who took them all to the house of Bhattacharya, where the Lord was lying unconscious in a spiritual trance. All the members then chanted loudly the holy name of the Lord Hari, as usual. The Lord regained his consciousness. After this, Bhattacharya received all the members of the party, including Lord Nityananda Prabhu, and asked them to become his guests of honor. One thing that we notice is in Vedic culture, taking care of uninvited guests is considered a prime duty of the householder. The party, including the Lord, went for a bath in the sea, and the Bhattacharya arranged for their residence and meals at the house of Kashi Mishra. Gopinath Acharya, his brother-in-law, also assisted. There were some friendly talks about the Lord's divinity between the two brothers-in-law. And in this argument, Gopinath Acharya, who knew the Lord before, now tried to establish the Lord as the personality of Godhead. And the Bhattacharya tried to establish him as one of the great devotees. Both of them argued from the angle of vision of authentic Shastras and not on the strength of sentimental vox populi. Vox populi means the voice of the public. The incarnations of God are determined by authentic Shastras and not by popular votes of foolish fanatics. Because Lord Chaitanya was an incarnation of God, in fact, foolish fanatics have proclaimed so many so-called incarnations of God in this age without referring to authentic scriptures. I was just reading yesterday in Bhaktasiddhanta Saraswati Thakur's commentary to Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. He reports that there were plenty of people after Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's disappearance who were claiming to be incarnations of Lord Gopal or Lord Ramachandra, like that. It appears to be a disease. But Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya or Gopinath Acharya did not indulge in such foolish sentimentalism. On the contrary, both of them tried to establish or reject his divinity on the strength of authentic Shastras. Later, it was disclosed that Bhattacharya also came from the Navadip area, and it was understood from him that Nilambar Chakravarti, the maternal grandfather of Lord Chaitanya, happened to be a class fellow of the father of Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya. In that sense, the young sannyasi Lord Chaitanya evoked paternal affection from Bhattacharya. In that sense, the Bhattacharya was a father figure to the young sannyasi Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Bhattacharya was the professor of many sannyasis in the order of the Shankaracharya Sampradaya, and he himself also belonged to that cult. In Vedic culture, as we normally see, you have many situations where you have sannyasis submitting to grihastha teachers and all that. In the Madhu Sampradaya, there are plenty of grihastha teachers. They are given the title acharyas. The sannyasis have the title tirthas. So they have the system of bala sannyas, taking sannyas at a young age. And because there have been too many fall downs and difficulties, they have now decided generally that they'll only give sannyas when the boy reaches 21 years of age or something like that. But even then, the first thing that they do is they put him under a grihastha teacher, and he studies all these things. So he is quite respectful to his teacher throughout his life. So this is not uncommon. that Sarvam Bhattacharya was a teacher of many sannyasis. As such, the Bhattacharya desired that the young sannyasi, Lord Chaitanya, also hear from him about the teachings of Vedanta. Okay, that's the end of today's quota. We have 3.5 minutes. Any questions? Okay, no questions. So we'll stop with that. Mohan Radhapati Prabhu has a question. No. But you should have raised your digital hand.
Time was less too, so.
Okay, you can anyway ask in the Telegram group. You can ask through a voice message also. We can have a vibrant discussion there also. There are some complicated things which will anyway overflow into that. Okay, so we'll stop.